So welcome everybody, and here we are at week 6 of Mindfulness Building the Habit of Presence, and thank you for joining me again. So today we're going to be talking about compassion and self-compassion, a really important ingredient in mindfulness in our overall practice, and also talking a little bit about continuing our own practice as we go forth, and hopefully you've got somewhat of a routine down and are finding ways to fit this in both formally and informally. And what we're going to do first, though, is take a pause, as we usually do. We'll do 3 breaths for a pause. So let's just take a nice position. Just take a moment to get comfortable, sitting in whatever way is good for you so that you can be relaxed and awake. As we know, this all can be very relaxing, but you also want to cultivate that sense of aliveness, alertness, awakeness as we are relaxed. So this is a quick practice that can be done on the go. You can close your eyes, but you don't have to because it can be done anywhere, anytime, really. So we're just focusing on the breath. So nice, full, deep breath in. And as we're breathing in and out, just really feeling the breath itself. You know, we've done a lot of this, so just really focusing on the feelings, sensations of this one breath. The second breath in, this time we're going to focus as we breathe on the body. So breathing in and out, just asking yourself, how's the body doing? What does the body need? Just noticing, checking it out. And the last breath, full in breath again. And this time we're focusing on self-kindness. Remembering that all of this is an act of kindness, that taking this time, these brief moments, or the formal meditations that we're doing are all a way to take care of ourselves. So, but for now in the practice, just noticing that sense of being kind to yourself and remembering to give yourself that pat on the back, that appreciation, just that sense of remembering how to take care of yourself. And before we close, let's just kind of rest for a moment, rest in this state of awareness. Keep breathing, obviously, focusing on the breath, but just for a moment, you don't have to do anything. You don't have to breathe in a particular way. You don't have to sit in a particular way. Just rest the mind and body and just allow yourself, without any effort, just to be here. Noticing whatever is in the moment, sounds, thoughts, sensations, emotions. Cultivating this center of now, but without effort. Just make it easy on yourself. All right. And then when you're ready, open your eyes if they've been closed, and we'll move on. And so that's a quick pause. The 3 breaths for a pause is a nice quick practice that you can do. But there are hopefully you found lots of quick, easy practices that you can do. And that's really what I want to review is how is it going so far? This is the 6th class, the last formal class in a sense of the building the habit of presence. I'm going to mute everybody. Here's some background noise. And we've talked about a variety of formal and informal practices. Last week we talked about integrating it into your daily work life. So we talked about things like even mindful driving on the way to and from work, a variety of pauses and breaks during the day. How are you going to use those strategically and mindfully? Meetings, a lot of us are in meetings, so how can you bring some mindfulness to getting ready for that meeting, but also while you're in the meeting. And any form of mindful communication, really listening in a more thoughtful and mindful and present way. So anybody want to share, how it's been going this past week? I don't know, hopefully you've been using that record form a little bit to record your practices and maybe how it's been for you, but how's it been going? Here we are at week 6. Maybe if you can give me a little bit of feedback, do you feel like you've got a bit of a mindful routine going, both for either formal and informal practices? Or if you want to comment on last week's practices, that's fine too. Any feedback, you can use the chat or you can unmute and speak up. How's it going, folks? Do a lot of mindfulness while driving. Good. I used to do that myself. I don't drive as much these days. But when I commuted on a regular basis, yeah, it's a great opportunity to kind of get yourself set for the day if you're driving into work or if you're coming back from work. I think it's a great opportunity to not let the mind, do its monkey mind thing and ruminate and travel to all sorts of different places. So yeah, excellent. Getting better slowly. Okay, good. Well, at least you notice a slow progression. And that's really a good point. This is kind of a slow progression. And 6 weeks in some ways doesn't really do it justice. Some classes are 8 weeks, but we are going to have a 7th class. I'll tell you about that in a minute. But it is kind of a slow thing. But the point is you're making progress, and that's good. You're finding ways, hopefully, to build the habit. One more practice going well. Excellent. I did a 5-minute walking break after meetings. Good. Like that. Connecting with nature. Yep. A lot of people do that, I think, especially as we're approaching spring. Listening to birds, looking at trees. So very good. I think that's a lot of people talk about doing it with as they take their dog for a walk or they walk with other people. But getting out and doing that is really a great practice. Going well, setting aside time. That's really the key. Setting aside, making that intention. This is what I'm going to do, when I'm going to do it, where I'm going to do it, how I'm going to do it, what practice I'm going to do. In place of the trace practice, in meetings, I made up a thumb twiddling practice. Oh, I love that. Breathe in and out after each twiddle. Not sure if this makes sense. Yeah, I get it. I like that. So, yeah, I think the combination of the sensory feeling of anything you do with your hands, so twiddling your thumb, you could hold your hands together, but anything you can use the senses for is a great way to do that. So, and combine that with the breathing. So perfect. I like that a lot. So I'm hearing that people are getting a little bit creative with some of this. You're finding different ways to do this, and that's beautiful. I love that. Used a lot this week. Good. Had a loss on Sunday. Oh, I'm sorry to hear that. And it's been a difficult time. But again, that's kind of the point of this. We have difficult times. All of us do, and we're going to be talking about that today. And when we build the habit, it helps us even during tough times, difficult emotions, ups and downs. It helps us stay centered, that sense of equanimity that we talked about. And instead of the automatic autopilot triggering us into reactions, this practice really helps us realize that we have a choice and we can slow down and we can calm down and we can do a practice that is really taking care of ourselves. 3-minute pause has been helpful in refocusing. Yeah, it is a great refocus practice. And again, that's what it's all about. Getting better slowly, but into a pattern on my lunch break. Good, formal and informal, and walking mindfulness. Excellent. Well, thank you all for that feedback. Sounds like you're doing good and you're finding ways that work for you all. And that's kind of the key. So going to talk a little bit about that mindfulness plan that I sent out. But also just point out, we are going to do a refresher class on April 4th. So it's the same day and time. It's a Thursday, 12 to 12:50. I'll send an invite to everybody, so you'll be able to get that on your calendar. And it'll just be a follow-up class. We'll do a little bit of sharing, how's it been going, but that's a nice time. I think it's 4 weeks from now, kind of see how you do on your own for 4 weeks. Hopefully you have lots of ways to tap into, and of course I'll show you some things before we close, but it'll give us a chance to kind of reconvene and see how it's going. Plus, I do have a monthly refresher class. Some of you may already know about this. March, actually, I'm going to be away. It's next week. It's always the second Wednesday from 12:30 to 1:15. So the next class is actually going to be April 10th. You can either just let me know, I can add you on to the invite, or sign up on LMS. Just search for Mindfulness Refresher, and that will get you the monthly invite. Or again, just let me know. But a lot of people, we started this a few years back, a lot of people who took this version of the class said, it really would be helpful to have some sort of ongoing class. So that's the way to do that. So hopefully you can answer yes to this question in some way. Are the practices becoming part of your daily life? What's your plan? Okay, so yeah, somebody just messaged me. If you want to put in the chat to me directly or to the group, that's fine. And I'll collect those before I close out the Zoom session at the end. So this next slide is about that. Before we get to that, kindliness, that's really today's lesson towards ourselves and others. It's an essential ingredient. Again, compassion and self-compassion. But if we put together kindliness with mindfulness, we get kindfulness. So that's so important. And I've talked about how we treat ourselves and how we're responding to building the habit is some kind of insight into how this is going to work for us. So when we find ourselves being self-critical or saying to ourselves, like, this is hard, I'm having difficulty doing this, or those messages that automatically come up, be aware of those and send yourself that sense of kindliness, that the way that you would treat a good friend. Do that for yourself, and we'll talk more about that. So what is your plan? I sent you a form last week, a chart that you could actually fill out. Don't know if you did that. Hopefully you did, or hopefully it prompted you to at least come up with a plan going forward. How and when are you going to do the formal practices? Maybe you've settled on one or two formal practices that you like. And this will change, by the way. If you keep doing it, I think you'll notice, at least it has for me, the sitting, breathing meditation has always been a standard, but now I do more body scans than I ever used to do in the beginning. And I combine them. I also try to do a little bit more of these, what we're going to do today, loving kindness practices. The pauses, the informal practices and the pauses are super important, again, to strengthen the habit, but also to sprinkle in things throughout the day. So again, pick one or two that you like, that work for you. And whether it's on a break or whenever, maybe it's in the car, to or from work, or later in the day. A lot of you talked about doing some of these practices before you go to sleep. Great time to do that. Great time to get back to sleep if you wake up in the middle of the night with a lot on your mind. So anybody have any feedback? Did you try filling in that chart of your own plan? Let me know. Put in the chat if you're able to do that and see how that worked for you. All right, so moving on, I do have a lot to cover. I'm going to talk about loving kindness, which is a traditional term that's also sometimes called metta practice. You'll hear that term. It's just interchangeable with loving kindness. And Sharon Salzberg is a popular teacher who focuses in a lot on this. And so you'll see her quote, "Loving kindness isn't the same as passion or romantic love, and it's not sappy sentimentality. As I've said, we don't necessarily like or approve of everyone to whom we offer loving kindness. Focusing our attention on inclusion and caring creates powerful connections that challenge the idea of us, them, us versus them world," which, well, I'll finish the quote, "by offering a way to see everyone as us." And, I think if we all practice loving kindness, especially in this idea of we're all interconnected, especially as we're going into the election season, among other things that divide us. And when we do the practice, that's kind of what we're going to do. We're going to bring up the idea of people that are close to us who we want to send loving kindness messages and care and compassion to, but also to the somewhat neutral person, people who you run across in your daily lives, but you don't really know them that well. And we're going to send them some care and compassion messages, and also to people that sometimes rub us the wrong way, or sometimes, give us a hard time. And we're going to include everybody in a sense. Now, this link there in the lower left of the slide is something that you might want to watch, even just that 5 minutes. Shauna Shapiro is a psychology researcher, and she talks in this, it's like a TED Talk, about she studied mindfulness and how it cultivates compassion. She was, there's been a lot of work done on how it's helped with stress and focus and things like that. And she focused on how does it help us with compassion. And what she found is that, first of all, what we've been talking about, what we practice becomes stronger. So when we practice the body scan, for example, and being kind to the body and paying attention to what the body needs, that becomes stronger the more we pay attention, the more we practice that, right? It's the basis of the whole course. But also with compassion. So the more we practice compassion and bringing this into our awareness, the stronger that's going to get. Makes sense, right? The second point she makes is that it really helps to slow down, and this makes a lot of sense too, if you think about it, especially in our work world, in healthcare, we're so busy. We're so going at 100 miles an hour, trying to get things done. And it doesn't make it very easy to be friendly or caring or compassionate when we're going full tilt, right? So slowing down and mindfulness helps us slow down. So that really helps us be more aware. In fact, they've done some studies on this that show when people are able to slow down, they're able to be more aware of their own feelings of care and compassion and the empathy and what other people are going through. Again, makes a lot of sense when you think about it. The third component is this sense of interdependence. And the next, we're going to do the practice in just a moment on the next slide, but this idea of inclusion and bringing everybody into our circle of care, if you want to think of it that way, and that we're all in some ways connected. I mean, whether you think of it in a spiritual way or just think of it in, and I'm not a quantum physicist or anything by any stretch, but this sense that we're all connected in this realm, in this world we call Earth or the universe. I mean, there's a lot that we don't know, but it's pretty clear that in some ways we are interdependent, even if you just think about how we're interdependent in our families and our faith communities and at work. We rely on one another, right? So if you get a chance, you might want to watch that. It's a good little video. So the next thing this is a nice little image of loving kindness. We're going to do a practice of metta or loving kindness. So I'm going to try to do a couple of practices today. So maybe 5 minutes will take to just first sit comfortably, like we often do. Find that good position for yourself. Allow your mind and your body to settle. Put aside all those unnecessary thoughts and agendas and plans and all those things. And close your eyes if that's helpful. Feel the body settle into the chair. Let yourself be grounded through your feet and the feeling of your body, the weight of your body. Feel the breath. Feel the breath moving in and out. Take a couple of deep breaths if you like. And the standard practice of whenever you get distracted, that's fine. Notice that being pulled away, but not following that, choosing not to engage with that train of thought or that emotion or that body sensation, whatever it was, and bringing our attention back to our anchor of the breath or the body. So that's the standard practice. Whenever you get pulled away, just come back. And again, just taking another moment or so to feel the breath. Let yourself rest and relax. If there's any tension that you notice in the shoulders or anywhere, just see if you can let that go, release, and soften. Be kind to yourself. Let yourself be here in an easy, effortless, relaxed way. Now bring to mind someone that you care about, somebody that's important to you, somebody that easily kind of brings up a sense of care and loving kindness and compassion. And take a moment to bring this person, could even be a pet, it could be someone who's deceased. Doesn't really matter. Just bring the person into your mind's eye and take a moment to just feel this person's presence. And we're going to send this person some messages of care and compassion. And they'll be somewhat repetitive, but we'll say, may you be happy. May you be healthy. May you be safe. And as you do this, kind of sending them that message of care and compassion. May you be free from suffering. May you live with ease. May you have care and connection. And by the way, you can use whatever words you like, but these are some traditional phrases. Now, imagine you're sitting with that person. So put the two of you together and send yourself and this other person the similar messages. May we be happy. May we be healthy and safe. May we both be free from suffering. May we live with ease. May we feel care and connection. And just allow yourself to rest in those messages. You can repeat them if you like. Doesn't matter. You don't have to get them exactly right. Just let yourself sort of feel them sink in a way. May we be happy and healthy and safe. May we be free from suffering. May we live with ease. May we feel care and connection. Now, the next step, let's bring to mind somebody who's kind of neutral in your life and somebody who don't really know that well, but you come across in your, maybe somebody at the coffee shop or the grocery store or the dry cleaners or whatever it is, and bringing them to mind, I'm going to send them the same messages. Okay, so may you be safe and healthy and happy. May you be free from suffering and live with ease. May you feel care and connection. And as you repeat those words, keeping that person in mind, imagine them receiving those messages of care and compassion. Maybe reconnecting with the breath for a moment. Take another couple of breaths, feeling the breath. Now we're going to bring to somebody to mind that is a little difficult in our lives. Somebody that, maybe rubs us the wrong way or challenges us in some way. Okay? Bring them to mind. And kind of remembering that everybody wants to feel safe and happy and healthy, right? I'm going to send them the same messages. So with them in mind, may you be safe and healthy and happy. May you be free from suffering. May you live with ease. May you feel care and connection. Just kind of notice what that feels like to send that message to somebody sort of difficult in our lives. Now, you can do this with a number of people, but we're going to just now expand this to our circle of loved ones, our family, our friends, and you can even expand it to, every living being. But whoever you choose to include right now, may you all be safe and healthy and happy. May you be free from suffering. May you live with ease. May you experience care and connection and compassion. And again, just sort of rest in this awareness, this loving kindness, these messages of care and compassion for a moment before we close. And just continue to breathe. Notice what that was like, what your experience was like. And when you're ready, you can slowly open your eyes if they've been closed. And come back, move a little bit, whatever is helpful. But let me know what that was like. This is a little different. Some of the phrases might seem repetitive, and that's kind of the idea, is that we send the same messages, but you can mix them up. You can use different phrases if you want to practice this some more. Those are some of the more traditional phrases. But love to know what that was like for you. So again, please feel free to share in the chat. Sometimes it's interesting to notice what it's like to send these messages to somebody we care about versus somebody that's neutral versus somebody that's difficult for us. And that's obviously the idea, is we're including everyone in this practice. All right, so this slide here, making space, I like the way this is put. Making space for ourselves gives ourselves permission to let go of self-judgment for a few moments and approach our need with more compassion. Research shows that when we practice self-compassion, we're less likely to feel anxious and stressed, and more likely to feel happy and resilient. This can regulate our heart rate, reduce inflammation, and improve sleep. So turning to self-compassion, this is from the work of Kristin Neff. You see at the bottom there, 3 elements of self-compassion, and mindfulness, self-kindness, and common humanity. And I won't go over all of this, but the idea, and I think mindfulness, again, is one of the cornerstones of this, And if we practice our mindful awareness, we're more aware of how things are, how we're reacting to things, how people in world events, for example, and driving in traffic and all those kinds of things. The more aware we are of those judgments we have about other people, but also about ourselves. It's easy sometimes, this is that kind of negativity bias, it's easy for us to be self-critical. It's easy for us to get down on ourselves. So the mindfulness is important to be aware of that. And I think if we think about, we all do this to ourselves at times. And so the next part of it is to be kind to ourselves. So that this practice that we just did, including ourselves in that practice, is important. And so this idea that, can we be kind to ourselves the same as we are to a loved one or a good friend? When we're comforting somebody else, what are some of the words we use? What are some of the ways that we soothe and nurture and comfort others? Well, why don't we do that for ourselves? Sometimes we're much more mean and critical of ourselves than we are to others. So remembering to do that in the moment as best we can. And the last is common humanity. And when we're in the midst of struggles, sometimes it feels like we take it personally, right? And it feels like we're alone in our suffering and we're the only ones. But it's important to remember that pretty much, everybody suffers at some point in this life. Nobody really escapes that. So it's helpful to remember that everybody is going through something. And if you really expand it with the billions of people on Earth, I'm sure there's somebody who's going through pretty similar and identical troubles and struggles. That's why we have support groups. People get together and help one another who are going through common struggles, right? So it's helpful to bring that up when we're trying to be self-compassionate. So I have an article that I send to you with the lessons. So if you want to read more about that, there's also these videos that you can watch. They're pretty brief. Kristin Neff talks about the 3 components, but also there's a quick 2-minute practice you can try. And then there's another one from Positive Psychology on self-compassion and taking time for yourselves, make sure you take care of yourselves. I came across this a while back and I included it. So I'm going to go through this pretty quickly. But I think it's important. I think it's part of the ingredient of accepting ourselves. And as you've noticed, acceptance is part of our overall practice. So self-acceptance kind of fits right into that, into self-compassion, right? So quickly, 6 steps, and there is a link here. When you get the slides, you can read the whole article from Psychology Today. First, make a commitment to work on self-acceptance. It's important to make that intention. That's kind of what we're doing with these practices. We're making time and space for being compassionate to ourselves and others. It's important, number 2, to assess and work on any past trauma. That can obviously be a factor that's kind of embedded in our bodies, in a sense. If you've ever read the book, The Body Keeps Score, that's where we kind of store our trauma. But I also mentioned here that you may need to talk about trauma if this is coming up, or loss or grief with a therapist or somebody like that. So keep that in mind. Determine your own value system. Take an inventory of what's important to you, what you believe in, what you're thinking about yourself. And that's, and that brings us back to maybe making that commitment. The 4th is to, I kind of like this, use your adult self to correct negative messages you're sending yourself. Some of those messages come from our childhood, right? And we have used them in this automatic conditioned way, and we get down on ourselves from long ago things that have happened. So use your adult self to kind of self-correct and to send yourself more realistic messages. Forgive yourself for past mistakes and failures. Make a conscious decision to offer yourself forgiveness. So important. And then accept imperfection. I mean, this is so important. We tend to be perfectionists, and so when we do things that don't go our way, or things come up that that we've done, and we really get down on ourselves, we beat ourselves up. Learn to accept yourself for all of who you are, your strengths, weaknesses, mistakes, and all. All right, so I know it's kind of quick going over that, but I think it's an important ingredient. The next practice we're going to do is giving and receiving compassion. So we sort of did that in the first practice, but there's another practice that we can do that's called compassion breathing. So as we breathe in a sense of nourishment for ourselves, a sense of replenishing what we need on the in-breath. And as we breathe out, we can send that out for someone else. So it's in for me, out for you. And it's a nice kind of balance of using the breath to kind of bring both together. What I'm going to do in this next practice is I'm going to combine that with some choiceless awareness. And all I really mean by that is, and there's a link here if you listen to a meditation with Jon Kabat Zinn. So mostly we focused on using an anchor in our meditation, the breath or the body, and a way to come back to presence through the anchor. Well, with choiceless awareness, we kind of let go of the anchor and we become open to whatever comes into our experience and our awareness. And you can always go back to the anchor if it seems a little kind of wide open and drifting. But that's what we'll do at the second part of the meditation. But we'll start with the breathing. So that'll still be our anchor in the beginning. And then we'll move into a more open awareness, or choiceless awareness, they sometimes call it. So again, find a comfortable meditation position. Take a moment to get into that position. If you want to stretch a little bit before you settle in, you can do that. Allow the body to settle low. Allow the body to relax. Close your eyes if you like, or keep them slightly open if you prefer. And in the same way, just letting the body settle. And feel the breath. Allow the breath to be our anchor for the moment. Allow the body to also anchor and center us. And as we tune into our breathing, let's feel the breath moving in and out. First, just feel the normal flow of our in-breath and out-breath. And now focus on the in-breath. And as you breathe in, simply breathe in a sense of whatever you might need in the moment, whether it's care or kindliness, or a sense of maybe being relaxed or calm, or just whatever it is that would nourish you. Do that on each in-breath. Feel that come in, kind of riding in on the wave of your in-breath. Filling up your body, filling up your heart. This is a great way to kind of like bring in this sense of replenishment and of nurturing to the self. Now, on the out breath, bring to mind somebody that might need a sense of that nourishment. Somebody that might need some care and compassion. Okay? So as you breathe out, sending out that same message, that same nurturing to that person. You can use phrases if you like we did before, or you could just send out a sense of care and compassion and nourishment and replenishment to that person. So on each out breath, sending them out, kind of riding on the wave of the out breath, targeted towards that person. And then just kind of bringing them together so that we're breathing in for you, out for the other. Do that a few more times, getting a sense of rhythm, breathing in for you, out for the other. Now, what we're going to do is letting go of that breathing in and out focus. Now, all I would like you to do is just, like we did in the beginning, just allow the mind and the body to rest. And just breathe naturally and easily. Let the body be relaxed as best you can. Let the mind be relaxed. And just be open and receptive to whatever is in your experience right now. So this might include thoughts, the sense of your emotional tone, how the body feels, sounds and other sensory input. Just notice it all. Okay, just kind of keeping a wide open lens and being aware of anything that passes through the open sky of your awareness. I'll be silent for a moment as you just take it all in. Now, if you get kind of lost in thought or you follow something, you kind of get engaged with any of those things that come up, that's fine. You can just notice that when you're aware of it, you can come back to your anchor of the breath or the body to restabilize if you like, and then just open up again and just sort of just be aware. When we're doing this, we're just sort of trying to be effortless. We're not trying really. We're just allowing things to be as they are in an open way, in a curious way. And we're not engaging with any of these things. We're just letting these, whatever it is, again, thoughts, emotions, body sensations, sounds, whatever it is that comes into your awareness, we're just letting them kind of float into our awareness and then out. So we're just sort of observing them come and go. And before we close, I mean, usually we would take a little more time with this, but because we're on limited time, just sort of first notice what this was like. It's a little bit of a new experience. We've tried a couple of new things today. What was that experience like? Just sort of that open receptiveness. What was that like for you? Just sort of making note of that. And you can open your eyes if they've been closed. And again, might want to move a little bit, reconnect with your surroundings. And again, let me know any feedback. I'd love to hear what that was like. That's again a bit different, right? They call this moving from sometimes it's called the spectrum awareness. So moving from a more fixed awareness of focusing on the breath to a more flexible awareness of noticing what's going on to a more open, choiceless awareness. You can practice with that. There's this meditation. I think I've got one on our meditation page as well. All right, nice. There's a sense of connectiveness. Yes, and especially with the other ones that we did first, we need reminders to forgive ourselves. Absolutely, we do. And so hopefully this served as a good reminder. All right, so yeah, please feel free to continue commenting. I'd love to see these. Relaxing, felt like you were getting Reiki. Okay, nice. Spectrum awareness was natural than trying too hard to let go of thoughts. Yeah, so I think I sent you a link to this effortless idea, and we'll probably do more of this on that 7th refresher session. But that's the idea, is that sometimes we get a little too, I don't know, striving or trying too hard. And I want to send the message that you don't have to do that. Just allow yourself to rest. Feel the breath. I mean, I did give you like a lot of sort of techniques and skills, but you're at the point where you can begin to experiment with different things and just try different open awareness, and be curious about what's going on. The point is, you're still being aware, you're still noticing, you're being much more mindful in the present moment where you're doing this. And you can always come back to the stability of an anchor, your breath or the body or something like that. Okay. So, couple of things before we close. I love this quote from Sharon Salzberg. Often people think, I don't have the right kind of mindfulness or the right level of concentration. Progress is not about levels, it's about frequency. If we can remember to be mindful, if we can add more moments of mindfulness, that makes all the difference. So that's really the point of what we've been doing in the class. Countless times a day, we lose mindfulness and become lost in reaction or disconnected from what is happening. But the moment we recognize that we've lost mindfulness, we have already regained it. It's that awareness, right? And that recognition is its essence, and we can begin again. Now, this one from Tara Brach, actually, it's from tinybuddha.com, but there's a link to a nice talk she does on happiness. So I encourage you to watch this. Happiness isn't about getting what you want all the time. It's about loving what you have and being grateful for it. So that sense of gratitude is important. But she talks in this video about how we're often, when things are going our way and we have different sensory pleasures, we have a good meal, for example, or we're listening to a great piece of music or whatever it might be, or a good experience with someone, that can bring us a sense of happiness. She also talks about this sense of happiness for no reason at all. So it's not tied to something, it's not dependent on something. And that's kind of an interesting way to think about it. And I would encourage you to keep up your practices, because what I've noticed, and again, it's a slow thing, but over time, you begin to notice more moments of this sense of contentment and happiness. The more you practice, the more you kind of learn to accept things as they are, the less we try to change things in that way, especially things that are not that easy to change. Now, I'm going to send you a couple things from Jon Kabat Zinn. This is a few suggestions from his sheet on daily practices. So basically, note what's on your mind if you're no longer in touch with the breath, without judgment or criticism. Just let that be part of your awareness in the moment, and feature once again the breath and the body center stage in the field of your awareness, and repeat this a few million times. So these are good suggestions. I encourage you to look at these. Remember, the real meditation is your life and how you inhabit it moment by moment. And I hope you're beginning to get a sense of this. It's not always in the meditation practice, whether it's formal or informal, but you're just noticing it beginning to surface in natural ways. And another quote by Jack Kornfield, we need to remember that where we are going is here, that any practice is simply a means to open our heart to what is in front of us. Where we are, where we already are, is the path and the goal, right? So just good reminder is a good way to say it. I'll just remind you about these are all of the meditations are on our new, relatively new EFR Caroline Wellbeing site. This is an active link that takes you right there. This is a screenshot. When you go to that, you're going to see this middle section here. And you'll see take a break with meditations and relaxation audios. All of the ones that I've recorded are right on that page now. So if you have any trouble, let me know, but you should be able to access it with this one link to that page. You might have to then go to this and then click that to get into it. There are also a couple of other independent links here on the bottom on mindful yoga and 10 mindful movements. And then one last quote, if I do not practice one day, I notice it. If I do not practice a second day, the orchestra notices it. If I do not practice a third day, the world notices it. And that's Ignacy Jan Paderewski, who was a conductor, an orchestra conductor. And so he's talking about this, how important practice is. And it is for our mindfulness too. So homework readings and videos, there's a few more if you want to just watch a few more things. And finally, I'll leave you with this. So I'm going to send you the evaluation. I'll send you a link. So please, it'll only take a few minutes. I'd love to hear your feedback and any suggestions and what you thought about the class. We are going to have that 7th class, so I'll send you the invite for April 4th. And if you did the perceived stress scale in the beginning, which many of you did, and I thank you for that, I think about 50 of you did that. So I need you to do it again now that we're at the end of the class. So I'll send that out too, and send that back to me, and I'll do a comparison of pre and post. And you might want to do that for yourself. And so I would appreciate you doing those. And with that, I will say thank you and namaste and peace. And, I wish you the best on your mindfulness journey. And I'll see you. Hopefully you can attend. I might want to mark your calendar before I send the invite out, but hopefully you can attend that session. And again, we will have the monthly refresher sessions too. So you might want to sign up for those. Let me know if you want to be in on that too. And again, thank you so much for coming to these classes. I really appreciate you all being here, and see those messages coming in. Thank you so much for your thanks and appreciation. Makes me feel good. All right, more and more. I'm going to stop the share, and then I'm going to stop recording. And I'll be here for a few more minutes if you have any questions. But again, namaste. Thank you all. Appreciate you attending and being here.